Welcome, everybody. It's time once again for the next chapter with Charlie Hedges, as he explores turning the page on his life and yours.
Welcome to the next chapter with Charlie Hedges. And this is Charlie Hedges with Terry Hershey, my good friend and guest today. And Terry and I are about to chat on a subject that is challenging for both of us, but it's good. And today we will talk about the value of religion, especially at a time when religion is facing so much mainstream complaint and concern. I'm looking forward to this insightful conversation with Terry. With that, let's get the show on the road. Yo, Hirsch, what's up, bro?
Hey, Charles, good to see you.
Terry's laughing at my new process here.
No, yeah. I'm ready.
Oh, we're on. We're on air.
Oh, good.
So I'm glad you're ready. Yeah, I think so are our listeners.
Yeah. Actually, if in all fairness, if you're really going to talk about the value of religion, then you need, as you know, in the faith that you worship in, you begin by saying, "The Lord be with you."
The Lord be with you.
In other words,
with your spirit.
And those are called, and this is in my gardening business, but I would say it's in the same, in any kind of worship experience / religion, it's a portal, Portal. It's your entry spot. You are invited into something. I enter into something. And what's the entry spot? So that's a curious question about so many of the religions. What's the entry spot? And so you're invited in. So
peace be with you is the entry spot?
Peace that's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of them. Absolutely.
So, because all of those things are the part of the process, yeah.
Yeah. So look at today, as I was pondering this, today will be an interesting turn for you and me regarding the value of religion, because over the years, we have become a bit cynical on the kind of religion that propagates values and sometimes false views of personal and social behaviors. So before we get into the value of religion, I think it's good for you to get it off your chest and me to get it off my chest. What is it about organized religion that really troubles you or hinders your faith journey?
If the religion, if one of the reasons I enter into the religion is I need some sort of security, and by security, that means I'm running from something, and that's not necessarily bad that you're running from something. But if the place I'm entering into, and this is not just the religion itself,
okay,
but this is the God or whoever you attach to the religion. I mean,
right.
The religions in the United States mostly would be attached to a God,
right.
Not necessarily in other parts of the world, but
right.
But whatever you attach that to, if the attachment to your religion or whoever your religion is attached to, and the religion makes you smaller and makes the world smaller, then it's detrimental. And it does a disservice to the God you've attached the religion to.
That is brilliant. Yeah, that is such a fine, concise answer to what troubles you about religion. It makes you smaller.
And if it makes you smaller, think of what comes out of you. This is the God that I was raised with, I was raised in a Christian church, a fundamentalist religion. And did they have, you're going to talk about community, I'm sure, the necessity of community. Yes. Did we go to the potlucks and we could talk to each other and chat and we could be with there and for each other when somebody was sick? Amen. Yes. But the God of that religion. This is about taking the left turn. These are these religions. The God of that religion was no different than an alcoholic father. He was always pissed off. So that takes me back to the thing. In other words, it made me smaller. All I did was do this whenever I saw that God. It frightened me. And if that's what the religion does, then it makes the choices I make smaller. And I don't see what I am or who I am. And then I'm not able to give from that space. You know, I've lost my capacity to give what is there. Now, if the God or the attachment makes you bigger, then all of a sudden you're asking different questions. What can I give you? How are we connected? What difference can I make? Those are different questions now.
Yeah, and I truly get the idea of makes you, the religion making you smaller. Because the rules and dogmas and all, they're so concerned about building up God, building up the character, the nature of God, that there is something in the human way. We don't know how to do that without disparaging something else. One thing can't grow unless the other thing, unless another thing diminishes.
Yeah, and that's not the fault of religion per se. That's what we take into it. In other words, am I going to enter into the portal of this space so that it makes me bigger and my world bigger, or am I going to do it in another way? And so very often we don't get a chance to ask that question because we're so driven by because very often we're drawn to things out of our own need and insecurity. And so sometimes we don't even see the bigger side of it.
Yeah. I'm really resonating with smaller and bigger, but those words seem almost incomplete to me. And that because rather than bigger, what word I like instead is good religion or religion well done or the faith well done. Doesn't always make me bigger, but it makes me whole.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's no doubt that you are in your own skin. Yeah, because I do the difference between sufficiency and scarcity. So back to your wholeness thing. Wholeness means there's a sufficiency already in you and in us. There's a sufficiency.
Right.
If there's a scarcity, I'm still seeking it, searching it, and I'm not going to get it from this God, but that's okay. I'll keep looking.
Yeah. And God and the nature of God is so intertwined and confused by the portrait that certain organized religions paint of God.
Right.
It's not a charming portrait.
That's what you call a nice way to put it.
Well, I'm on a show. Okay, that's it reminds me, this is an opportunity for me to quote scripture.
Yeah.
Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount makes a statement that is really poorly translated. It's saying, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Well, that is just, perfect is just a terrible translation for the Greek word teleos, which is purpose, goal. So what Jesus is saying, be complete, be whole, as your Father in heaven is whole and complete.
Yes, and the thing about that, as long as in our culture, the mentality is that, and back to the word perfect, is we ascribe to the fact that we're still scarcity, so I'm not who I should be, and therefore I need to attain something, so there's an attainment part of it. And to your point, is that I'm invited into that religion with that God, where there's a sufficiency already inside of me. Are there a lot of weaknesses? Boatload. A lot of dark spaces? Yepers. But in other words, those are still loved and make up the whole Terry. In other words, I befriend them. So I like to use the word befriend. I can befriend me, befriend you, be gentle with yourself as God has befriended himself and is gentle. Yes, that's what I would say.
Be gentle with yourself as God is gentle with you.
Yeah.
Now that assumes that we understand God is gentle.
I would say have you ever created something, made something, and held it in your hand? And I know you have. You've done it with paintings and you've done it with other stuff. And you see an artist when they hold that with such awe, and I call it gentleness.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That is nice, Hirsch. Where'd you get that?
Every once in a while, I come up with something that, here's the problem. It's worth writing down. And then after the show, I'll think, that was what was it I said? And and I won't remember it.
Yeah. And we attribute that to old age, but it's not true. We did the same thing at 30. We would forget shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually true.
So let's take a look. I'd love to say the book that I'm recommending I've read, but I have not read because I just got word that it existed. So I did my new routine now. So instead of reading the book, I went on my AI and did the book and asked AI to give me a summary of it. It was brilliant. It was so good. Who needs to read the book? When you got AI summaries.
Wow.
But this is a really good book. It's written by a guy, Ross Douthat. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but the title of the book is "Believe Why Everyone Should Be Religious." And this is, so here, let me read this little thing that AI wrote for me. Overall, Ross argues that religion provides a variety of benefits for individuals and for society as a whole. And these benefits are increasingly important as that is becoming more, that the world is becoming more secular and individualistic. And, you can't get more individualistic than me, and I have to battle with that. But just to get us on the road here, you're familiar with the author. You have light familiarity with him. Tell me what you know of Ross Douthat.
Just that he, well, you know how we use words conservative and liberal or progressive in terms of the way we frame our world, politics and stuff. And he's a conservative. And let me put it this way, in the good sense. In other words, he frames political issues from the conservative side of point of view as opposed to the progressive point of view. But the thing about good political analysts, whichever side they're on, is that they're open for exploration and they're open for dialogue. And he is that. He is very open to that kind of thing. And so much of his writing is not meant to convert you. And these are good political analysts to me. They're not meant to convert you, although they wouldn't mind you understanding their point of view, but they're meant to engage you. In other words, have the conversation.
And that's so, gosh, I don't want to get on too much of a sidetrack, but that is so important in media. That's why I'm so in love with Barry Weiss and the Free Press and her podcast. Honestly, she's center left, but does a lot with conservatives. And so she brings dialogue, no one's trying to solve anything. They're trying to say, this is our position. This is what we think, and they have debates about it. It's just brilliant, and as opposed to what I find with both Fox and CNN as well, that there's less news telling than there is evangelism. They're trying to bring people, Fox especially, trying to bring people over to their cause. But I notice a lot of it in CNN as well, because I do try to keep up on CNN. But, it gets, we've got these almost religious doctrines in our politics that now you can't just report the news. You've got to convince people why you're better than others, or why your belief is better than others.
Is that what you're asking me to do now? Is to convince you why my belief is better than yours?
It wouldn't take much convincing, Hersh, because you and I have been in this same trench for a while. But I would like us to take a look at the other side and take a look at what does good religion, what can it bring to the table? Because it really can bring to the table. I mean, it's existed for thousands of years. And it's brought benefit to the society. And what I'd like to do is, I don't think this is necessarily a long show, but there's 6 points or 5 points, I believe, that Dutha presents in his book Believe, and he says there are 5 advantages to religion included, and I'll name them, and then we're going to discuss them. The first on the list, it's not the most important, but it's just the first on the list, is religion offers meaning and purpose, offers community and belonging, offers moral guidance, spiritual growth, and, interesting, social stability. And, when then a religion is doing her job, when she can address those issues, then I can see value to religion. Do you agree that if they're doing that, there's value?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Doing their job. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Because the question is, what choices do we make in the religion that enhance these, that reinforce these? That's a big deal.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm not sure that religions actually take note of this and try to do this rather than.
Well, we are. I mean, if you're going to do history, world history, more people have been killed by religious faith than any other people.
Probably. Yeah.
And they've killed other religious people. They haven't killed anti-religious people. They've killed other religious people.
Yeah. Talk about gross insecurity. And
anyway, the other thing about Russ that you're talking about is one of his, I don't know, guru is the wrong word, but he loves C.S. Lewis. In other words, he reads some of the same people that you and I would love and have loved to read. And so C.S. Lewis, he would comment on all the 5 things you just mentioned. He would have a comment about all those.
A positive comment.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, how to reinforce those.
Yeah. And that's value. So let's kind of talk about that. And and we're going to take religion at the core of what it's meant to be, because in essence, to me, the Christian faith is about being. It's about a way of being, a lifestyle, a passion, and a demonstrating the love from the divine, demonstrating that on a practical human level in as many ways as we possibly can. And so the first thing that again, it's not number 1, but it's the first on his list. Meaning and purpose. There's a little paragraph a sentence after that says, religion provides a sense of meaning and purpose that can help individuals navigate the challenges and uncertainties of life. What do you think?
I actually like the verb navigate because, I mean, all of us are navigating the uncertainties regardless of whether we're religious or not. You're navigating it because if you're making choices, you're navigating. Now, a lot of people aren't necessarily making choices. They're actually reacting to the uncertainty rather than navigating it. But we're all doing it in some way or another. And he's actually giving you something to tether yourself to, so you're making choices in the navigation, which is what I find beneficial in religion. Tell me why you're navigating that way, that your religion gives you a place to tether that. And the benefit of that is that you're not, your primary source of motion is not reaction. You're not reactive.
And
you're proactive.
And that is very common. Here I want you to talk about the positives and I'm bringing up the negatives, but that is so much a way of the church is reactionary, or the way of religion. It's reactionary.
And so what's interesting is because part of if you want to be the meaning of all those five things is to stand in front of churches that have abused these things, and you want to just say, "Do you have any idea what you've got?"
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what you got and the capacity for what you got? Yeah.
Love it. So what do you think? What kind of meaning and purpose can I withdraw? Can I gain from religion? What do you think? I got a couple ideas, but I'm curious of what you think. What about meaning and purpose? Those are big in the States, in the United States. That's huge, the idea of meaning and purpose. And
yeah, except I would say sometimes the meaning and purpose there is that we have to attain something. It has to do with attainment and entitled and being entitled, and so that sort of meaning and purpose drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And the reason, here's why. The reason is because have you arrived at every single one of those is predicated on the word more. In other words, you're not there yet. It's always a down the road thing. And the thing about meaning, and I know you want to quote Jesus, but I guess I can quote Jesus too.
And he went off to a lonely place to pray?
Well, there's that one. But here's what you need to know about him. Jesus, this is the powerful thing. Jesus never multitasked. Never.
Never.
In fact, that's what drove the disciples nuts. The kids got on his lap. What did he do? He stopped everything else and focused. In other words, I'm talking about, this is about meaning. Meaning means to be here now. The phrase I've always used for it is a Franciscan phrase called the sacrament of the present moment. That's meaning. The sacrament of the present moment. This moment of life is holy. And Jesus stopped what he was doing. Boom. Now, that's what I would like a religion to do for me. Give me the tools, the invitation to practice that, the sacrament of the present moment.
Yeah. And the grounding. Like you said, when you use the verb tethered, I like that too. To what are you tethered?
Yeah.
And the thing about the religion that I'm involved in, hopefully, ideally, I'm to be tethered to love. That is my tethering. That's the only thing I can tether myself to, for sure.
Yeah, now you're talking, and so the invitation to that is, it's to see. One of the things I would like to do in people who are invited into the particular religion is not just simply for them to state whatever the top 10 beliefs are, I mean, that's an easy thing to say once you've learned them, but I would rather have them name that list of where you're tethered. In other words, because that has to do with the choices I make in daily living.
Yeah, and that's the question. I love that. Where are you tethered? Because that impacts the choices that I make.
100%.
And my, you know me and choice. I believe life, that's all life is one choice after another.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making decisions based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. So it's so, you're going even in meaning and purpose. You can tell what drives you, what drives Terry is it is sort of a wholeness, a completeness. And if I'm tethering to something, and I consider that something to which I'm tethered is divine, is otherworldly, is the source. For me, it's a source, a creation source. That gives me a lot to go on. And that's why I study deeply. I study the nature of God. You know how much work I'm trying to write a book on it right now. Did I send you notes on that?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm reading. But the thing is, actually, and you said the world otherworldly. The irony is the very people that you admire deeply in the Christian religion are the mystics, the people with the mystics. And mystics actually, tethered was such a perfect word for mystics, because they live every moment tethered to the sacred in this worldly. I mean, this moment.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are, absorbed into this. So they're present here. They're unbelievably present.
Yeah. Their theology is a little complicated in that, yes, it's all about, I'm thinking of Teresa of Avila.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the mystics, So
no, but I'm just saying, yeah. But that's, yeah. But what? Yeah, keep going though.
Yeah, she was talking about serving and praying.
Right.
And her nuns would take it that the more important effort is praying. That's where because that's what the mystics are known for, is that intimate communication and intimate relationship with the divine. But Teresa says, but if your sister is in her cell in need, then I suggest you get up off your knees in prayer and you go in and you serve your sister. You serve God that is present to you right now.
Yeah, the implication of that, of course, is the meaning drives the other ones that you mentioned before, because the moral guidance and community and belonging, those two things are driven by that. In other words, if it doesn't drive you to recognizing your connection, your sister in the next room, and to moral guidance is someone needs compassion and empathy, then I don't know where you've tethered your meaning to. In other words, she said what I like about that kind of tethering is it's not like a test. So tell me if you're going to do the right thing, your sister's there. No, because she's tethered to this sense of sacrament of the present moment. She's aware of the connection to those around her, and she's aware of the needs of those around her, so she can be compassionate.
I'm jumping to the subject line, moving from meaning and purpose to moral guidance, where you're at. I want to stay right where you're at. And you're defining morality very differently than most people. I was going to say that the church people, but non-church people. I mean, look what Ross wrote, or summing up Ross. Religion can provide a moral framework for making ethical decisions and living a virtuous life. That I don't think that does not comport with what you're just saying.
No, because and I mean, in and of itself, that's fine to say a virtuous life. But I see it as long as I'd see it through the mentality of Western mindset, which means I have to attain it. So, am I virtuous yet? I have to keep asking. So I always see the virtues that I do as I check them off my list and accumulate them to attain virtue, rather than just being virtuous. It's a different deal.
Yeah. It's like I'm reminded. I'm thinking of St. Paul when he writes about the fruit of the Spirit, and that we're encouraged to enter into the fruit of the Spirit.
Right.
And there's so many times. How many times have you heard that preached? It's something you attain. You attain the fruit of the Spirit.
See, this is the thing I say, and this is why the benefit of all those 5 of his things, probably I should have said at the beginning, is it has to do with what paradigm am I using to view them through. And if the paradigm I use is Western mindset, which has to do with attainment, then I will get these all wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, what Paul, back on the fruit of the Spirit, what the writer talks about, these are, patience, kindness, gentleness, and love et al. Those are not to be attained. Those are demonstrated by your heart and reflected in your heart by the Spirit of God. God is coming alongside.
Which is inside of you now.
Yes, it's already there. It's already there, but it's supercharged.
Yeah,
when God gets in, then it's supercharged.
Are you going to access it or not?
Yeah, precisely.
You've got more stuff in the fridge than you think emotionally.
Well, I try to keep a simple refrigerator.
Yeah,
but then it doesn't stay that way. Yeah. So let's just for a sec, let's just kind of go down this path on morality, and then we'll take a break. Morality, as defined, unfortunately, by church, and then people observing church, almost always, it doesn't even go as high as attaining, but it comes to staying away from. It comes to, what do you stay away from? Like, number 1, stay away from is sex.
Oh,
anything that's sexual is immoral.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're, we don't have to get on that so much, but that's not what we're talking about.
I saw a post the other day. Someone said it was, man, I was watching I don't know whose podcast it was, but it was great. It was all these unbelievably, wonderfully exciting things to do. This was the best. And then I realized it was a TV preacher and they were listing sins.
That is so cool. That was, a friend of mine was raised in a conservative environment, and he was preacher of a large church, a few thousand people. And he said, because he too was raised in a very conservative upbringing.
Yeah.
And he said, at some point I realized all the things I wasn't supposed to do are my goals in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to move on, but before we do that, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. This is Charlie Hedges, and you've been listening to The Next Chapter with Charlie, and we're just about a little more than halfway through. We'll see, but we're talking about I almost want to call them hidden values of religion. That religion has taken such a bad hit over the last especially decade, but longer than that. But the last decade have been brutal, and this writer Ross Douthat has given us an idea in his book, Believe Why Everyone or people should be religious. And we just talked about meaning and purpose and moral guidance. Here's one that I know is very strong in your mind. And that another aspect is community and belonging. That religion is a great enforcer of community or prophet, preacher, screaming for community and belonging. And are those not fundamental? I mean, you go to any shrink, those are fundamental human needs. They're the most basic of almost all human needs, is it not? Belonging, being accepted, being cared for, and then the community, having a community that you serve the community and the community serves you. I'm thinking of Richard Rohr's group, the CAC, Center of Action and Contemplation. They're very into social restoration and into bringing up the poor and the disenfranchised. Unfortunately, that's not as common as I would like to see in religion, but that is what value a religion can bring. I think of what Rohr's group brings, and it brings valuable religion. And Richard is not a big fan of religion anyway, but he understands the value. What does community and belonging mean to you?
Well, it starts with the premise that no one of us is on the journey alone. We are already inextricably connected. And so that's just a given. We watch several species of animals live that out to the fullest. And our species of animal kind of detaches themselves from that. And a lot of it has to do with, some of it is because, you and I both are familiar with this. Some of it is because that part of us that was a part of who we were, sense of community and belonging happens when you're birthed. And, you have community and belonging with who you're birthed by and then who raises you and stuff. But those don't always turn out very well for a lot of people. And so,
you think?
Yeah. And so then you're searching for community and belonging. And in some ways, I mean, sometimes I'm hunting for that without knowing what it is. And so my recommendation, when I'm talking to people who feel disconnected, lonely, alone, they don't have this stuff. We talk about places where that it has been true in their life. And sometimes we realize we've had it more often than we thought or knew in good ways. And the other irony is you ask people where they have provided that for others. And it's like what are you talking about? That's not what I'm asking. And you realize the irony is that when I'm offering you a cup of coffee, it takes care of my loneliness too.
Absolutely.
I'm not waiting for you to come over here and give me coffee.
Yeah.
Although I've been waiting for quite some time,
Well, you don't usually ask me for coffee. I try to supply your beverages.
It's an interesting thing that we don't, is once I see if I'm tethered to the reality that we're connected, then there are choices that I make because of that tethering. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. That's. Oh,
see,
gosh.
I'll give you. There's a great story about and I forget where it was. It was one of the wars in Eastern Europe, not a current one, but not too long ago history, and there's a guy carrying a really wounded, bloodied child and says to another guy who has a car, "You have a car, help me. We've got to get him to a hospital. And they drive fast. They get to the hospital. The boys, they're bloodied, but he's still alive. And then they're both in the bathroom washing their hands because they've got dirt and blood on their hands. And the man who was carrying the boys says to him, it's going to be a hard day because I have to go tell his father what happened to his son. And the driver's going, wait a minute, that wasn't your son? And the man said, aren't they all our children?
Beautiful.
See, that's community and belonging. Aren't they all our children?
I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of when I wasn't a churched person until I was 30.
Yes, I know that.
And so I had, I didn't have a lot of baggage coming in,
Correct. That's true.
And so I didn't know I was looking for community, but that is one of the things I really liked about the place that I was attending, is I liked the community. But one of the things, I don't want to overuse your great word, but one of the things that we tether ourselves to that gives us a sense of wholeness and a sense of ideological similarity, and that is belief. And that is believing that there is a divine source that is not making me smaller, but the divine source, the goal of the divine source is making me whole. And then I can be whole to other people, and I can bring this to other people. That if we sense a community doing that sort of thing, a community that really cares, that will treat every child like my son, that's a wonderful, wonderful place to be.
Yeah, I am literally grateful and in awe of those places that are alive and well.
I was gonna bring up a really odd one, and I think I will, because we think we're talking religion. And no, you know what? I'm not going to do that. It's a sidetrack, so I don't need to do it. So I'm going to go to the next one. So we talk. Anything else you've got on community and belonging? Okay.
No, except it has to be the same thing we go back to before. If my community is restrictive, then it's not community.
No. What is it?
That's it's a protectionism.
Yeah.
And and the problem is, once you're a part in one of those protectionism sort of restrictive things, and you've seen this, but you as an individual realize that community is not really healthy for you, it's dysfunctional, you can't get out of it then.
Because
you're going to be chastised.
Yeah,
you're going to be
ostracized
and shamed. And in other words, all the other things on the list are going to be, nope, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, no, go for it. What's the next one?
The next one is rather obvious. I mean, you would think a religious community does this, but it promotes spiritual growth. Why is that even important?
But spiritual growth?
Mm-hmm. Because it assumes some sort of developmental actions that's going on. I'm developing. I'm improving. I am maturing, or whatever adjectives we want to use there. But that part of me, I think, as much as religion, people of, the church is dwindling kind of radically, mm-hmm. and people are not attending. But you know what? There are a boatload of people, Terry, as you know, that call themselves spiritual but not religious.
That's a large number of the readers of My Sabbath Moment.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
but they're as you all are on your Sabbath moment audience, and you are interested in spiritual growth.
Correct.
That's very important. I think to deny, or to not, maybe not deny, but to not pay attention to our spiritual side is it's missing a whole part of life.
Well, yeah, I mean, because spiritual growth is not about checking something off a list to arrive and you say, okay, I'm here now. It's about saying yes to new parts of you that you've discovered and learned that you didn't know were there, or that have been covered up, or that have been hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And you for example, you're reading for the first time in your life, you're reading some mystics, and it does something to you, not only to your spirit, it does something to your faith, it does something to your inner well-being. They're all good things. So spiritual growth. And the powerful thing about all of that is you weren't aware that you had that inside of you. So spiritual growth is just an opening. It's like a little door or window that's open to a part of you that's been alive and well, but it's in there. But that's what the great thing about growth is. Every single part of that is in the plant. It's in the plant. But in the process of the growing process, you get to see new parts of it, which is extraordinary. That's the gift. And the response to that is, okay, good. I've achieved that part of my spiritual growth. No, it's not about achievement. It's like when I love to cook. It's like when you're cooking a meal you've never cooked before, and you've tried different ingredients you've never tried before, and you're not only in awe of it, you're just savoring every bit of the moment. You're completely present, And so that's growth as a cook. It's the same in spiritual growth, to me, is it gives you something else to savor that you didn't savor before. See, I see it differently than a lot of people see spiritual growth as some sort of attainment that they have, that they believe better, or they believe more, or they're able to make choices. See, I think it's, I'm talking out loud while I'm doing the spiritual growth thing, because the paradigm of the metric thing always drives me nuts.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about that, Hersh, and how do you get away from it? I mean, how do you, when you're talking about growth, I mean, the very word sort of demands some sort of scale by which to measure, am I growing? Am I going from A to B? Am I moving that direction?
No, okay. The measurement is simply, is it healthy growth or unhealthy growth? That's the measurement.
Okay, what is healthy growth? Define, give me an idea of the two so I know what we're talking about here.
Well, using some of the language you've already used today, does the growth allow me to be more grounded? That's healthy growth.
Does it give me permission to serve?
Healthy growth.
Yeah.
Does it connect me to other members of the community? Healthy growth.
So, but there is, okay, so it's healthy growth.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm looking for connection, I'm looking for service, I have some of that already in me. I just want to expand my vocabulary, expand my reach. So I just want to make it bigger, broader, more meaningful to me. So there doesn't have to be attainment factors in there. Although, what do you call it when you grow and you are someplace where you are not, that you weren't before, but you like where you are now, that there has been this change? What do you call that if not attaining something?
What do you call it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's good. To me, the sacrament of the present moment is really the big thing for me. It's just the permission to be present now. I mean, it's a powerful, powerful thing to me. And everything about the faith I was raised in told me that no matter what I learned and tried, I still wasn't there yet. And so everything that I did learn and did try, I didn't get to enjoy or embrace. I didn't get to savor it.
Oh, that's tragic. Yeah, but you've made differences in your life. You've decided to make some changes to that, have you not?
Yeah, and in the book I wrote called Soul Gardening is that all of this whole paradigm shift happened for me in the garden. The garden taught me a whole brand new way of looking at religion, faith, spirituality.
Yeah, it's one of the is it not one of the major metaphors in Jesus' teaching is gardening and taking care of growing things.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the last one, which I know when I read it to you, you gave me a cross-eyed look. I like that because it's a difference. Social stability, and I'll read what was written on it. The sentence says, religion can help promote social stability and cohesion by providing shared values and a sense of common purpose. So if we have that culturally, I've been listening to, are you familiar with Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I listen to him every week. He has a Hebrew commentary on the writing for the week or whatever, but he is very fond of talking about entire cultures that are different and that are better and that have lasted long because of religion and the cohesion that they bring in. And the first tribe that comes to mind are the Jews. I mean, is there anything in history comparable to Jewish tradition? I mean, do we have anything that's lasted over a couple thousand years?
That didn't get crucified? Do you mean like a Native American tradition?
Like a Native American tradition.
Our Native American religion, yeah, they talk about social stability, but yeah.
Do they?
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think if we as a country had more shared values, that's what we don't have shared values. Is that not the great divider right now is values?
Well, yeah. I mean, and this is when you get to the deal is that if my faith, my religion, if it's just mine and it's all then it's restrictive, and then it's about if you don't accept what we have, you're out. And that's what's happening very often with a restrictive view of going back to the beginning about community and belonging. If it's a restrictive community and belonging, there's not going to be shared values because there are going to be values that differentiate us. And so that's what's happening right now. And so it's not just because we can say it's because we have the wrong values or right values. No, it goes back to our belief about what community and belonging is. If we have a restrictive view of community and belonging, then we're not going to have shared values. We're not.
And shared values, one of the things that occurs to me that's necessary for shared values is acceptance. And that is acceptance of other people where they are in their journey, where they are in their growth path. And the irony is
that's at our core, that kind of thing can be lived out when, if you had a conversation about it, okay, what community do you belong to? You can name it, and you can almost say what your values are, but you can say who's not in your community. And yet, you take Well, any of the things that just happened, the fires in Los Angeles, the Hurricane Helene, and you see people that are there to rescue other people or feed other people or give a cup of coffee to other people who have zero in common with the, quote, community they belong to, but their shared values are the same. Thankfully, that comes out in a way when we have not restricted it mentally before, you know what I'm saying? When it doesn't go back to, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't be doing that with you. You're not in my community.
Yeah, and that is unfortunately, I've already said I'm bringing up the negative and you're not. But in the Christian community, some communities, not all of them, maybe not even the majority of them, but a handful of very powerful Christian communities are all about separateness. Mm-hmm. That is holiness, holiness, that, you look up at the theological definitions, that we grew up by, and that is separation. That is different, that you are not the same. And we're trying to break that separation and trying to connect everyone. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to connect. That is what healthy religion of values of making people bigger, making people whole, or contributing to people's largesse and to their wholeness. Those are values that they're not restricted. They're common values that we can share with other people.
And by common, and this is what's interesting, so we can't make it a mental thing, because if we make it a mental thing, it's like there's a list we ascribe to. No, they're at the core of who we are as humans. So as soon as I have to make a list, an application to be a part of this club, I move it from it's already at the core, but now I move it here, and then I have to sort of parse it.
Yeah. And then it becomes about the list.
Exactly.
It becomes about the list. And then, as you so rightly point out in your lectures, it's more about checking off the list,
Yeah, but I won an award in my church for best caregiver, so there you go.
You know what that assumes?
Yeah,
that assumes that you care.
Yeah, exactly. But I passed the test. That's the key.
All right, Hershey. Hey, this has been really cool.
Thanks.
I think this is one of my more favorite shows. I think you were brilliant today. Thank you. I appreciate you as a friend and as a colleague to chat with me on these things.
Thanks, man. I'll be seeing you soon too.
Yeah, the end of this week. And so now, note to everybody, thank you for tuning in to the next chapter with Charlie. And until next, this is Charlie Hedges signing off. Bye for now.